Should I? What do you think? The issue was that the European Union, in their infinite wisdom, decided that we can't have any volume. So if you want to listen to anything with any kind of resistance at all in it, then you can't listen to it with one of these properly. And Apple, in their infinite wisdom, has one of the worst implementations of this, where basically, as far as I can tell by using these things, that I quite like to actually use, that their solution was to just cut the power to the output. Now, technically, volume is power when you're putting it through one of these things, but the problem is that things aren't quite that simple, because low frequencies require relatively more kind of power to deliver the same kind of volume than high frequencies. Now, Apple should really know this, but apparently they didn't. I tried one of these by Samsung, and it wasn't quite as clear, but it did have slightly less cut-off of the lower frequencies, so it's slightly improved, but still not as good as this, which is a very different fish kettle entirely. It is clearly not made in the same kind of high-end factory with the same kind of... they're not able to sort of produce the components in the same way. It has like a gnarled aluminium end to it, which is delightful. And actually, you know what? The fact that they're making stuff out of aluminium, really good at getting rid of that old heat. Dissipates very nicely. Whereas the plastic one insulates, so it's not actually quite as good. But as I discovered, much to my delight, when I ordered this online, which is a CX Pro Audio, which I think is a reference to the CX is some chip manufacturer, and they have a specific chip is listed, and that's pretty much it. It comes in a sort of fairly nondescript little metal box, which delightfully instantly falls apart. But who cares? This does what I wanted it to do, and that is not necessarily listen to volume so loud that my ears bleed, though it does actually allow you to do that. What it does do, though, is drive my headphones properly, and I can actually hear some weight to the music. The weight comes from the lower frequencies being at the proper levels. So yes, it might not be, I don't know, it's probably not quite as crystal clear as this thing, but that might just be a perceptual thing, where if you cut out all the lower frequencies, the perception of clarity is higher because you're hearing the high frequencies, because you pretty much that's all you're hearing with one of these things. So anyway, I can now listen to my slightly higher impedance headphones, and driven off my phone. I mean, admittedly, my phone is a what is it? It's a Xiaomi Note 10 Pros that cost me 130 quid off of Amazon. I'm not entirely convinced that I will be plugging in something like this into a high-end £1,000 smartphone, but for now it's absolutely fantastic. And of course, if it lasts not quite so long, because it's not quite manufactured to the same tolerances, I actually don't believe it will, because I was going through these things at a rate of about one every couple of months, so there's a very low bar set by Apple in this instance. So yeah, I'm quite happy with this. This is a real find. The problem is that there's like 1,000 different listings on Amazon, because they're not entirely the most consistent about it, and it's obviously just where it gets imported and who has it or whatever. And it took a little bit longer. I mean, these things arrive in a day to the UK, and this took me about 2 weeks. But yeah, I'm quite happy with it. So the question is, do I take my fancy knife and chop this up? Of course not. Why would I do that? That would just be a terrible waste. And when this does eventually fail, for the 2 weeks I'm going to need to have something else, I'll use this. So, no, I'm not going to vandalise it. I'm going to use it because these things are disposable, and this can wait for a little bit longer to be disposed of. But in the meantime, I'll be having plenty of fine listening, no channel imbalances, nice bit of weight to the music, and I can listen with my little earphones that were always capable of producing bass, but even these little Truth-Ear earphones were not being driven properly. And all of a sudden I have so much more. It's like that proper, I have a subwoofer. You don't necessarily notice it, or you shouldn't really hear it, but it's just that depth is suddenly there. And I can be a deep person when I want to be. It's all good.